In 1995, the Canadian gray wolf was introduced into Yellowstone National Park. It was agreed that once the wolf population had met the objective number, wolves would be removed from the endangered species list, and state wildlife agencies would be allowed to manage the wolf populations in each state. In 2002, the objective number of wolves was met. However, the right to manage the wolves in each state was not granted, and as a result, the wolf population dramatically increased. With the absence of wolf management, wildlife numbers began to fall throughout the West. In the fight to restore big game populations and unite sportsmen, Big Game Forever was formed to provide a voice and a presence in the halls of Congress.
I was recruited to this position by some good friends who felt that we needed a lawyer fighting for sportsmen. And my background is I'm an Ivy League trained lawyer who just has a passion for the outdoors. And so, like a lot of you, I love to hunt and fish, and saw what was happening with our elk, moose, and deer herds in the Northern Rockies and decided it was time to fix that issue. With my background in politics and law, felt like that was something that could be fixed with the right kind of effort. I was at a hearing in Washington, D.C., and there were some fairly radical folks who were saying, hey, hunters are a threat to conservation. And there was just a couple of hunting representatives there, and I was one of them. And I stood up and I said, you know, you've got it all wrong. Hunters are a force for conservation. They're a force for good. And we support wildlife on the landscape. A lot of these folks have forgotten that when the original idea was to introduce wolves, there was caution, but at the same time there was support. What we agreed to was to have wolves in 3 western states, and that once we reached those objectives, states would have management authority to protect our wild game herds. You know, what happened is these groups went to federal court and blocked state management for about 10 years. And so what happened is we went from 300 wolves across the West to almost 2,000. And that was a predator load that has been described by Fish and Wildlife Service biologists as saturation. Really, it was unsustainable. And what happened is that unsustainable number of wolves, and other predators as well, but the combined load of predation crashed these game herds, and then the predator numbers crashed as well. And so as we look at that, and we look at the original agreement and the overreach that happened there through some federal mandates, you know, it's just a reminder once again that we really shouldn't be tinkering and experimenting with our wild game herds. We know what works. And to protect them, states need the management authority to respond to concerns as they arise. And so some of, you know, the best and most important game herds in America have been lost. For example, the northern Yellowstone herd once had as many as 20,000 elk. We just got the counts back from this last winter, and there's less than 2,000 elk in the park now. That's a tragedy. It's very rare to see a moose in Yellowstone National Park. In Jackson, Wyoming, there's about 600 tags to go and harvest the Shiras moose. It was one of the great Shiras moose areas in all of the world. And they even had a Jackson Moose Viewing Festival. Well, the festival's canceled, there's no tags, the area's been closed because of the lack of moose. And that's a result of predation. It's been well documented. And so, you know, there's examples around Montana, Idaho, Wyoming. The good news is we have enough game left that we can restore these areas through aggressive management efforts and with a real focus on restoration. It's time to bring back what we've lost, and it's not too late. There are opportunities to restore these areas. In some places it's going to be tough. Shiras moose take a heavy toll, and to restore that, you've got to remove that predation load. Here's another important factor that we need to consider. These powerful special interest groups are now advocating for a relisting of the wolf and to push wolf populations into other states like Texas, Utah, Colorado, California, Oregon, Washington. They want to see this loss of game spread. I don't understand that, and I think a lot of us don't. The way to fix that is to make sure that states have management authority. In December of 2014, there will be a nationwide delisting of the western gray wolf. And this is a huge development for protecting the future of conservation. Go to biggameforever.org and sign the petition in support of that nationwide delisting. When states have management authority, good things happen. When states don't have that authority, we've seen what's happened. And so, we just encourage everybody that day is coming very soon where what we've been working toward will be accomplished. We need to make sure that we see it through to the end, though. And the way that happens is for each one of us to add our voice to sound conservation principles